Hello. In this part 3, we're going to talk about the dark night of the soul and the integration process during a spiritual awakening. Welcome to Soothing Ascensions. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe and like if you like content like this. And if you have not seen part 1 or part 2 of the spiritual awakening process, then go ahead and check those out before you listen to this one, okay? Keep in mind when you're going through a spiritual awakening, it is an awakening. You're ascending to your highest timeline. And this is a process that can repeat itself throughout your life and does repeat itself throughout your life because the soul is constantly evolving and constantly seeking more truths, more wisdom, and more ascending. Keep in mind as well that you can go in and out at any stage. It does not have to go in the exact order in which I have done these videos. You can find yourself in and out of one step to another, and it doesn't necessarily have to be exactly in this 5-step order. Everyone's journey is different, and whatever stage you are in during your life, it can be a time where you are in a purification process, or you may be in the dark night of the soul and then go back into a purification process, or you go back into an awakening step. It just depends on what you are on your particular timeline. Now let's talk about the dark night of the soul. The dark night of the soul is what happens when you've awakened and you've come to this realization that you want more in life, and then something can trigger you because you're awakening to more truths. You're going to find out that a lot of the things that you used to really enjoy, thought there were truths, are not. And this can be triggered by a challenging period of spiritual doubt and confusion, and it's just an emotional, painful time. You start to feel disconnected from your divine or your one's inner self. You start questioning your previous held beliefs and assumptions. You have an intense but ultimately transformative process that leads to a deeper self-awareness and spiritual growth. It can be a very isolating process, but it serves as a crucial phase for shedding old layers of the ego and conditioning. If you once were into, like, say, your political beliefs may change. You may say once upon a time you were with this kind of political party and you find out more truth and you switch over. Or religion, a lot of times this is when people start to lose their sense of what they grew up with organized religion. They start to realize that a lot of the stuff that is put in the media is programming. You start to realize a lot of these thoughts that you've had are not your own. You may also realize that the people around you are not what you really thought they were. Whatever it is, you're going to go through this process, and it's about shedding old layers of yourself to awaken to who you truly are. This is a process that most have to go through. You can be in isolation for quite a bit of time because at this point you've kind of realized you don't no longer fit in with the people you used to fit in, and you find yourself in a time where the only people you want to be with are not of the physical world. You go through this spiritual process of finding your true self. Could be a challenging time when you start to really question everything that you ever thought to be true and everything that you've ever thought to know. And it's all part of the conditioning. You're shedding parts of the ego, where the ego used to find joy in a new shiny object that you purchase. You no longer find that joy. This is a process where you, as an empath, because if you're awakening to your true empathic self, may realize that the people around you your whole life have been sucking at you. Energy vampires. May find out the spouse that you're with is not the person you thought they were, which can bring the ego into this whole collapse and start to really question everything in your life. Your family dynamics will change because you no longer connect with these people and they expect you to be a certain way and you're no longer that way, and you feel like you are hurting everyone's feeling because during this process you must realize you are shedding your old self, and they are also mourning that person that you used to be, and they have to realize, and they are not going to really realize that that person is no longer here, and during this dark night of the soul, you are shedding that old person to find out who the new and true real self that you are. And it could be a very disheartening, painful process. But if you realize that the people that you once were involved with, your friends, your family, your spouses, have grace with them and have grace with yourself, because it's kind of a process of you're not the same person anymore, and you never will be that same person again. You're going to be the new authentic version of yourself that was always hidden deep down there. But you have to give the other people around you grace, because that is the person they've always known. And the new person you're becoming is happening rapidly, and they might not be able to handle it. And this is why you will find yourself in isolation, because you need to find out who you truly are. And it's a process that, you go through. And as you go through it, once it's time to get out of that cave, you're going to just want more wisdom and seek more wisdom and truth. And as you start to find the wisdom and find your stance, and you start to get stronger within who yourself and who you truly are, you'll start to come into the last step, which is the integration process. This is a state of balance. Keep in mind, the dark night of soul can last a day, a month, years. It can last as long as your soul needs it to. And then once you have won through that process, you're going to find yourself in the integration step. This is a state of balance and harmony between your spiritual insights and your everyday life. You start to embody the lessons that you've learned through the awakening process in practical ways. You start living authentically and aligning with the actions with your higher purpose and values. You start feeling a sense of connection to the divine. You find inner peace and a sense of fulfillment. You start engaging in services to others. And this is where you'll start to find out where your purpose is. You may go into the act of service. Most times, this is what is awakening to you. As you go through this journey, you might want to find not might want to, but you most likely are going to find yourself where you find that you're going to be in service. Because once you awaken, you want to awaken everybody else. You want other people around you, and you want to go into a state where you want to speak your truth. And once you know your truth is going to help other people along their journey, just as I'm doing now by having this video out to help you guys, because obviously I've went through the same process as well too, and still go through these processes, because an awakening journey is a forever journey. Your soul is constantly evolving. It's constantly wanting more. It's constantly moving into its highest stage and timeline. And you may find yourself back into the other, where you may need to purify again, where you find yourself in the dark night of soul, where you find that you had habits and you had addictions, if you had certain kind of behaviors that kept attracting the same things in your life, you realize that pattern and you break the pattern. And as you're integrating, you learn those lessons that the universe sent to you, those lessons that had you in a loop. You realize the loop, and you get yourself out of this loop, and you integrate it. You know that when you're creating stuff, you create it with the divine, with God, and you also can do it practical as well. Because you can't just live up in the spiritual world, because you exist in this physical world. And during the integration process, you blend the two harmoniously. This is when you start walking your life's purpose, your life path. This is when you start walking into what you really came here to do, whatever it is. But it's going to be in service. You're going to service people. You're going to be here to help the collective. Where once upon a time you may have worked a 9 to 5 and only you get your paycheck, it was all going to you. You don't want to work that anymore. You don't want to work that way. You don't want to depend on someone else for your money. You want to have an impact on the community. You want to have an impact on humanity in some way. And that is when you walk your purpose. If you guys need help with discovering your purpose and your life path, I have an online course. The School of Numerology is going to be linked in the description below. If you need help finding out your true purpose, once I went through my spiritual awakening, I found that numerology helped guide me tremendously from knowing my life path number, my weaknesses, my strengths, and my particular cycle of life, or what I'm supposed to be in. It would help me move with grace, and it'll help you too. So if you're interested in that, it's going to be linked below.